I am going to bring in Eli, who was watching as all of those were coming in, who's here to talk about the nominations. I'm just checking Power of the Dog, Eli, tops the list with 12 nominations.
Tops the list, directed by Jane Campion. We don't get too many movies by that amazing director, but when she makes a movie, it makes an impact. It had Netflix in its corner. It has Benedict Cumberbatch on the screen, and it is leading the pack, ladies and gentlemen. Perhaps if you haven't seen it, well, it's just a click away. It's on Netflix. That probably helped some voters, and it has 12 nominations going into the Oscars this year. And so we're talking most of the major categories: Best Actor, Best Director, Best Picture, and many, many more. This kind of neo-Western about a rough and tumble cattle rancher who makes a surprising connection with someone who's new to the ranch. So that is your leading contender. Now, nipping at the Power of the Dog's heels is Dune. Now, we know Dune. Remember the hoopla from the Toronto International Film Festival, this amazing science fiction epic as directed by Denis Villeneuve, packed with stars, packed with amazing effects, and taking a new vision of a very well-known sci-fi story. This is just the first chapter of many for Villeneuve, the Montreal director who is now kind of one of the hottest talents in Hollywood, and it received 10 nominations this morning. And then a little music for your morning, West Side Story, dancing its way to 7 nominations this morning, including a direct nomination, not for that woman, not for Rachel Zegler, but Ariana DeBose did get a nomination. There she is. And the man behind the camera, Steven Spielberg, did get a nomination. So quite a few nominations for West Side Story, 7 overall. So those would be your leading contenders: Power of the Dog, Dune, and West Side Story,
which you have reviewed for us over the course of the last year. Right on. Any snubs or movies that you liked that didn't make the nomination list, Eli?
There were some snubs and there were also some surprises. I mean, you know, the Academy has been very aggressive in changing and recruiting new members, and I think there were some pleasant outcomes this morning. I want to start with the tragedy of Macbeth. Denzel Washington playing Macbeth, playing the general and all of his ambition. I mean, he is just a powerhouse, and even though this black and white Shakespearean adaptation only came out a few weeks ago, it did very well this morning, getting production design, getting cinematography, and Denzel is always a contender. A surprise being the Ricardos. So this is from Aaron Sorkin, making a movie about the life of, well, really a week in the life of Lucille Ball. Nicole Kidman, quite the transformation, getting a nomination this morning. Her co-star Javier Bardem getting a nomination this morning. J.K. Simmons, who has a smallish role as the actor who played Fred on the sitcom, even he got a nomination. And then Drive My Car, I want to talk to you about. Drive My Car, this amazing film from Japan. It's really become kind of the darling of the award season. Remember how well Parasite did a couple years ago, and this kind of shows you how cinema is changing, and I think how voters are more receptive to movies that are frankly not in English. This is an amazing, almost 3-hour-long meditation on the power of acting, on grief, and two people from different parts of life who come together in a very powerful way. Wonderful to see that there. And a big surprise, let's move on to The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Another movie that made a big wave at TIFF and then wasn't really talked about so much, but it stars Jessica Chastain. And if there's ever a film that was made for an Oscar, it is that, with kind of the transformational aspects of Chastain becoming Tammy Faye Baker. And finally, talking about surprise, and this is a hurtful one, Denis Villeneuve did not get a nomination as director of Dune. So even though it was nominated in many of the technical categories and editing categories, score and all of that, no acting categories and nothing for the director, even though it's a Best Picture contender. So that hurts a little, frankly.
Does, my goodness. All right, so Dolby Theatre for the ceremony, March the 27th, going to be back after being hosted virtually and hoping to recoup some of the ratings which faded away last year. What do we know about the ceremony, Eli?
I mean, we're, I think, expecting like full-on hoopla. They are going to try and go heavy on the glitz and glam. I think the Oscars are, frankly, in a bit of a crisis. They are fighting for relevance. As you mentioned, Heather, last year was the least watched awards ceremony ever. Only 10.4 million people tuned in to see Nomadland win Best Picture. Now, it was, yes, during a pandemic. Yes, it didn't look like a normal Oscar ceremony, but I think that's why the feeling is this year we are going to go back, and even though the situation is not normal, we are going to pretend. We're going to be in the Dolby Theater. We're going to have glitz and glam. We're going to have music. You'll probably hear a song from Encanto, I would gather. Maybe Spider-Man will swing by, even though it wasn't nominated for Best Picture, but it should have been. They're going to do everything they can to try and get the audience back, because I think there really is a problem now with many of those movies that I'm happy to sing the praises of. Those are not films that really reached a mainstream audience. If you look at the box office of those top 10 films compared to something like, Spider-Man No Way Home, it's not even comparable. So they're bringing back hosts, they're bringing back the glitz, and we'll see if they can bring back the audience with them. And we're hoping to be there actually in person to cover it all with you. So that should
I
be fun.
hope so, Eli. I hope to see you there on the carpet. Having just seen Encanto on the weekend, it's not even We Don't Talk About Bruno. It's Dos Oruguitas. I don't even. There's a surprise for me. I know.
That's why they'll find a way. They're going to work it in.
Okay, they have to. Now you're going to be singing that all day long. All right. Thank you, Eli. See you soon. Eli Glasner in Toronto.